I'm Mike Mazursky, ex-bank robber. My book is Once Upon a Time in Tel Aviv, a bank robber story. I'm chatting with Stacks.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got Mike Mazursky. Once Upon a Time in Tel Aviv, a bank robber's story.
So I had to discreetly turn around and pretend that I got a phone call and I'm waiting to meet somebody. I can't find them. So I get out of there eventually. I get a cab, I make it down to Tel Aviv. It was a good score. It was, a good amount of money, but I'll be honest, I felt really bad about how scared that woman was, because she had this look of fear on her face, and it really bothered me. And I couldn't even, I felt empty. I couldn't enjoy the fact that I made off with all this money. I had this emptiness, and I had to go up and get the car, drive the car back to Tel Aviv. So it was a long day. I remember that night when I was going to sleep after I did everything and I got away clean and all this. And I was the last thing I saw before I fell asleep was that look of fear on her face, and so it definitely crashed headfirst into my whole gentleman bandit thing, where don't hurt nobody and that whole devil may care attitude. It definitely crashed headfirst into that.
So where do you go from there?
I was flying back and forth to Israel, the States. I had my girl in Israel, and I was trying to get out of the life by kind of trying to figure out what I do from here, but I was it was like this cycle. I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and this was the only way. It's I sort of loved it, and it was also obviously a way to make money. It was just who I was. At that point in my life, this was just my identity. This is who I am, and this was the only way I almost knew how to function at that point. This was this last one that I told you about, I believe this was I pulled off 2 more before I actually got locked up. So after that one, I pulled off another one. I believe it was 6 months later or something like that, where I knocked over a bank. The lady actually slipped me a die pack, and it blew up as I was getting in, which you got to look through the cash, to make sure that my first ever job that I pulled, the first ever job in the States, the lady tried to slip me a die. The teller tried to slip me a die pack, but I was, I saw it because I knew you had to ruffle through the cash. I basically read everything I could about this type of thing, and I knew all the secrets, the things that they try to do to get you. So I ruffled through the cash that first one, and I threw the stack of money that had the die pack. I threw it back over the counter because I saw it. When it's really stiff, that's when it's no good. So, but in this one that I pulled after the cash exchange, the lady managed to slip one past the goalie, and it blew up as I was getting in the car. Red smoke was billowing out of the the attaché case that I used to throw the money in. And I get in the car, I put the bag facing down so the smoke goes down. It doesn't fill the car with smoke. I drive off, I find a sewer grate, and I actually, I find the die pack, and that stack of money, I threw it in the sewer because I thought, for all I knew, it doubles as a GPS device, so, yeah. And I made it back home with no issues, and it actually spiced up the job. Sometimes things get routine, and something like that actually makes it more fun.
Did it dye the rest of the money?
So some of the money, what I did was, a lot of the money was stained with this red paint. Some of the bills were a little bit less stained, but they were all stained. So I had to figure out a way to clean it, to exchange it for regular notes. What I did at first was I actually took taxi rides all around Tel Aviv, and I would go into the cab and I would make small talk with the driver, and I would tell him that I was a taxi driver from Canada, and make up a story to get them to feel comfortable. And then at the end, I would give them a note that was stained with the red dye, slightly stained. These were the ones that were more or less, decent, halfway decent. And because I would make small talk with them, they wouldn't, they feel comfortable with me. So they'd be like, they might ask a question, but they would take it, give me the change. And that's how I would clean a good chunk of the money that was more or less halfway decent. And that took up a bit of time. And then on one of these trips, I saw something that if I knew about before would have saved myself a lot of trouble, because I was trying to also clean the bills with acetone. I read that that's how way you can clean it, but it was getting me nowhere because they were too badly stained up. So I saw a freaking cash exchange ATM, which I never even knew existed. And I ended up just the rest of the money, I just like exchanged it for clean notes. Like I had no idea these things existed, but I accidentally stumbled across one and ended up cleaning, exchanging the money for regular notes that way.
So then you got one more robbery and then you get caught.
Right. So, and then after that one, I hit another cash exchange. So I was scoping this one out. And like I said, most of these cash exchanges are not prime targets because sometimes they got people in the back rooms and you don't know if they're armed or what. And then they also, like I said, they have a bulletproof glass separating you from the cashier going all the way up to the ceiling most of the time. But I stumbled across this one place where basically you walk in and there's like a waiting area. So the guy that works behind the till, he's sort of hanging out like in this like sort of office space, and he has to open the door to get into the till. So like you literally, you could just go in, pull a piece out and say, look, open the door, open the safe. And I knew this was a huge vulnerability, and it could only be done in the morning because when he would open the place up, he would just kind of hang out there in this office space for like half an hour, and then he would open up the door, go into the area where the till is, the cashier section, and that place was like boarded up. You couldn't get to him if he was behind that door. But for the first half hour, he was just hanging out like he works in Disneyland. So I did a dry run one day. I went there in the morning to exchange some notes. I had the mask on, everything to get him used to me. I exchanged some notes. It was, I realized that it could be done. So when I actually did it, I walk in and, I pull the piece out. I tell him, open the door. Here's the thing about this guy. So I was watching the place, scoping it out for a while. This guy would pull up in like a white sports car and he would sort of like swagger to the store, open it up. He was a real cocky guy. And something about him just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I remember thinking like, maybe it sounds messed up, but I remember thinking like, let's see how cocky you're going to be, when this happens. So he just, for some reason, this guy really rubbed me the wrong way. And he never did nothing to me. I don't know what it was, and when I pulled the piece out, pulled the fake gun out, like he lost it. Like he was worse than, than anything I've seen. He was flipping out. He was like hyperventilating. He was panicking. And I told him, look, I'm not going to hurt you. Open the door, open the safe. No one's going to hurt you. And he just, he opened the door and then he was trying to get the safe open. And he was hyperventilating and just like flipping out and like, it was ridiculous. So eventually he got it open, and then he climbed under the table for some reason. I didn't tell him to do that, and he just like hid under the table. I emptied the safe out, got out of there. It was actually the smoothest job I'd ever done. It went really good in that regard, and it actually made me probably overconfident, which led me to getting locked up a few months later. And the way that happened was basically, there was another spot not far away from this one. But you know what? It's in the book. Maybe I'll leave that for, hopefully people get the book. I don't want to give the whole story away, but
you end up getting caught, right? You end up getting caught. Save that for when they read the book. So what happens in prison? You go to prison, right? Yeah. So when I got arrested. So I didn't get caught on a job. I got caught. They basically accused me of like scoping a place out. I didn't get caught in the job. It was sort of like almost like a freak situation. But like I said, this last one made me overconfident. When I got locked up, I basically
I had a place where I kept everything that I used with the job. I had a place where I stashed it, and I couldn't use that place. So I had to leave it in my place for like a little bit of time, and that was lo and behold, that was when I got pinched. So when they searched my apartment, it was all there, and they had it all.
Breaking your own rules, right?
So yeah, that was like I said, I was using a place to stash it, and then I couldn't use it. So I was like, while I was transitioning to a new place, I was like, let me just keep it here for like a brief period of time. And as luck would have it, that's when I get locked up. So if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have had anything on me. They would but it is what it is. So I knew that was it. Basically, I knew I was like gonna go away for a few years at the least. When I got arrested, yeah, it was nuts. So basically, in Israel, how it works is there's three groups. Like how in American prisons you got the black gangs, the Latino gangs, you got the white, whether it's the Aryan Brotherhood or whatever the case may be. So in Israel, it's three groups. It's obviously the Israelis, the Arabs, and the Russians.